What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG Structures chapter review. Today, guys, we're going to be going over chapter 11 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG Structures manga. Guys, we are coming in close to having to go on hiatus with this manga because in just 2 chapters, it's going to be it. We're not going to be able to read any farther past it, or at least of the time of this recording. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks, but we're going to have to just wait and see. And for people that were wondering why I didn't do an OCG Structures review last week, I did the Sevens chapter review last week, and that's the reason why I didn't do this one. I normally like to do 1 chapter a week. I think it's more balanced if I did it like that. So I decided to take the time and do it that week since it had came out. It was very new, and then just wait next week just to do this one. So that's why it took a little while for this one to come out. But in any case, I'm still excited to get into this. We're going to be continuing the duel between Yuga and Misguide. I'm very Yuga, gosh. This is the problem that I've been having throughout the series. This is kind of something you'll expect on the channel. Let's just say that. So, let me say that again. The duel between Shoma and Misguide. There we go. So, I'm very excited to get into this chapter, so let's not waste any more time, and let's get right into it. So, what did I think of this chapter? I thought it was a good chapter. This chapter literally was just continuing the rest of the duel. There was nothing really else that happened in this chapter at all. So mainly this one is just going to be continuing this duel and finishing this duel up. So the chapter begins. We are still in the middle of Shoma's turn. He's in his main phase 2, and he doesn't really do much this turn. All he does is he uses his Magical Knight of Dragons effect to where it can lower its attack points by 2600 to destroy Misguide's Emancipator Annihilator, and sets 2 cards, and that's it. It really is not that much. In fact, the whole turn lasted only 1 page, and then we went into Misguide's turn. And it might seem like it is a bad thing, but to be able to destroy a monster, it's not really that bad. Sure, you lose 2600 attack points, but Gaia had 7800, and he still has 52, so it was a pretty pricey cross, but you know what, it's still good for him because he still has a pretty beefy monster on the field. But she knows it at this point, and she is able to go and counteract it, and we get to that in a second. But we hear the crowd. People are so surprised that Shoma was able to deal this much damage. They realize how strong he is. Like, he's a really strong duelist because apparently people know Misguide is this very strong and capable duelist, and the fact that Shoma was able to deal a really good amount of damage. I mean, she is already down to 1400 life points, and Shoma hasn't even taken any. So that's actually really, really good. He basically just dealt 66 points of damage, I believe, if I did the math right on that. So that is a lot of damage in literally just 1 turn. So that's pretty good. But she goes into her turn. She draws 1 card, and Shoma immediately activates his trap card, Beginning of Heaven and Earth, which it's cool to see this card because I actually do have this card in real life, and that what's kind of makes me excited about this manga is like when I see cards that I actually own in the real life, I think it's just really cool to see this. And I actually got this. I would say it's a while back. Excuse me. It's been a while since I've actually seen this card. I've never used this card, so it's a pretty interesting card. So he gets 3 cards from his deck, and Misguide has to pick 1 card that he adds to his hand. The other ones, I believe, were sent to the graveyard. And let me just talk about the 3 cards he had. He has Soldier Gaia, the original Gaia, and then he has Buster Blader, Envoy of the Beginning. I think that's what the name of it is. I could be wrong of it. But he has a Buster Blader card, which I think it's one of the most powerful ones out of them all. So the fact that he has that in his deck, especially since you got to think about too, is when they've been showing off these decks that Shoma uses, it's from packs. He's been mainly doing it focused on a pack that had recently came out. I don't remember that card being in there, and I'm almost guaranteed that it wasn't in there. It could have been, but I'm wrong. I might be wrong about that. I know Soldier Gaia was in that Rise of the Duelist pack. It's the one I'm talking about, by the way. So the fact to see that card, I'm just gonna say this. There's a lot of Duel Monster vibes from this, really, and it's probably just because of the fact that Gaia is probably one of the most well-known monsters in Yugi's deck, I do believe, especially in the early beginnings when he first summoned Gaia, the Fierce Champion. So it's still pretty cool to kind of see these older cards, and we do get to see another one, which we did see in the last chapter as well. So he uses the beginning of Heaven and Earth, is able to add Soldier Gaia, the Fierce Knight, to his hand and send the rest to his graveyard. Then she goes in her place. She activates Emancipator Signs, which lets her special summon Emancipator Risen Dragite from her graveyard, and then places Doki Doki on top of the deck. And then, in response to that, Shoma uses an effect of his Magical Knight of Dragons to lower attack points to destroy a Dragonite. And now that he has used this effect, he cannot do anything more. So she is going for a very powerful play. She has a whole bunch of monsters on the field, but he knows that something's going to happen. There's still more that she's going to do. So he goes right away and activates Spiral, Reborn, which is able to revive his cursed dragon from his graveyard. Uses this effect to add a copy of Galloping Gaia from his deck to his hand, but this doesn't really bother her as she starts going into plays, and then she starts her whole excavating process, goes into actually another synchro summon. She gets the same synchro monster that she got back from her graveyard, but Shoma's able to counter this as he tributes his Magical Knight of Dragons and activates the effect of Soldier Gaia to switch that Dragite to defense position, which is very smart, and we'll get to that in a second. She goes back and she uses effects to go and start excavating, and ends up basically wiping out his field. She's able to return his monsters back to his hand and is able to go for direct attack after direct attack after direct attack after special summoning another sentient shoulder of stone, which she already had 2 on the field. She uses her 3 monsters to attack and is able to deal Shoma all the way down to 2,700 life points, and that's basically all she can do. She has to go to her main phase, which this is where I was talking about Shoma was smart this turn, because if he didn't switch Dragolite, whatever you say that name is, to defense position, it would have dealt way too much damage to his life points, as it had, I think, like 3,500 attack points or something like that. I could be wrong on the attack point stat, but it had 3,500 attack and he had 2,700 life points. He won a lot straight right there in an OTK, which shows how powerful this deck. And also, by the way, she was able to do this without Block Dragon. Now, if anyone played the meta, you probably know what Block Dragon is, but for people that are more on the casual side of things, and it's not that bad if you're casual at all, it's just, it's a little bit of a fun fact if you didn't really know this, but Block Dragon was a very big card that you played in this deck, or really any rock type deck. And the reason for this is, I'm not going to explain the whole effect because I don't have the effect pulled up, but let's just say Block Dragon was pretty broken, as it basically gave you a +3. So think about having a monster that is basically a pot of greed on crack to some degree. Or a better example of this would be a Graceful Charity, but you don't get the discarding cause of that. You know, Graceful Charity, you get to draw 3 cards, but you have to send 2 cards to your graveyard. Yeah, that graveyard sending effect doesn't count. So, yeah, pretty broken. And it got banned recently, which I was surprised you didn't use this, but I think there was 2 reasons for this. Or 2 possible reasons, I should more say. A, they didn't really think that Block Dragon was broken at this time, which, remember, this is more the OCG. The OCG is way better at knowing the whole card game and what people do than the TCG is. Let's be honest here. They are way better at that. They are more in-depth for the game than the TCG is. And the other reason that it could potentially be is that they wanted to make her deck a full Emancipator deck. Though I don't believe that, because again, you have the Soldier of Stone in her deck, which again, that could also be just to do some support for Rise of the Duelists. That could be the case. And since it's a rock monster, that's the case. I think they just didn't put Block Dragon in there because they knew Block Dragon was going to be in there. Oh, I guess that's the third reason. They knew about it, but if they added that in the deck, she probably would have won because it's a very broken card. I don't think they want to encourage a broken card in the manga. I don't think they would want to do that. That's not really good at all, in my opinion, I think, because that's going to make people want to do it, and then that's where you get into the point where you have to get it banned anyway. So, yeah. But anyway, she goes into her main phase 2, and it does a little bit of a skip, like during the duel between Shoma and Light, which I don't mind. If you want to know all the effects that happen during this whole process. You just look at the back of the manga. Obviously, they do this is just because with how large the game is and how many plays you normally do to set up fields like this, and the restriction that you have towards your chapters and how many pages you can actually do, there's not really that much of an opportunity to be able to show as much as you probably would like to, unless you do it 3 chapters instead of 2, which honestly it really isn't that good. And let's be honest, I don't think we all want to see the play. We just want to see the main monsters on the field, and which is the case. Which all she has is her Dragite, like she did. She has Old Entity Hastor, I believe is what his name is. And then you have Excel Synchron. And we'll get to that in just a second. And Shoma's surprised about the 3 synchro monsters, and he talks about being a main monster zone, obviously, because in the last chapter, they introduced Master Rule 5. So seeing this whole field with synchro monsters is pretty shocking because you haven't seen it probably since Master Rule 3 for this kid. Heck, you probably haven't seen it because you didn't, well, unless he dueled it as a kid, but it's like, it's been a while. I would say, well, no. If he's like 13 years old, he would only been like 11 or 10 years old or something like that. Heck, maybe even 12. So, yeah, it's not really that big of a deal, but obviously they haven't seen it in a while, so it's pretty interesting to see 3 synchro monsters on the field. She ends her turn there, it goes into Shoma's turn, and then she performs an Excel Synchro, as the effect of Excel Synchron lets you synchro summon during your turn. And she's able to use her old entity, in her Excel Synchron to get Shooting Star Dragon TG Expansion. She summons Shooting Star Dragon. Are we kidding? She summons a... If you guys don't know, a little while back, they had some characters' cards get some fusion with them. For example, you got Dark Dragoon, which was a fusion of Dark Magician and Red Eyes Black Dragon. You have this one, which, if you guys have watched 5Ds, is a combination of Yusei's Shooting Star Dragon and one of Bruno's or Antinomies TG monsters. And I think there was another one for Yuya, and I can't remember who the other person was, but it was like a Performable Magician monster. So those were like the 3 monsters that you got this like fused kind of card. And I really do like these cards, which I will say though, kind of a little bit spoiling into it, but I am doing a review, so it's not really a spoiler. Dark Dragoon doesn't get shown in this, but there's nothing really much that you can really do with it. But hey, what are you going to really do? But she's able to get this monster. I really like the design of this monster. I think it looks really cool in the actual real-life game. And it's cool to actually see this. And yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that they did it, but I can't wait to see Dark Dragoon. Because if you guys have been playing the meta, you know that Dark Dragoon is a very powerful card. And someone can quote me on this. I don't follow the OCG as much, but is Dark Dragoon banned in the OCG? I heard some time a while back they did ban Dragoon, but I could be wrong on that one. So if anyone knows, can you please let me know? I'll probably look it up afterwards. But is it banned? I don't think it's banned in a TCG. I could be wrong. I haven't looked at the ban list. I didn't look at February's. I don't think February's ban list actually came out yet. And I didn't look at January's this month. The last one I looked at was actually November. I didn't even see the December one either. But I don't think that card has been banned yet. I really don't. It might have been, and I might be completely wrong, and I just don't remember it being banned. But yeah, it's a pretty powerful card, or less. But getting back to the duel, like a little bit of rant there, whatever. Shoma is able to activate a copy of his field spell that he already had in the field of Galloping Gaia, and is basically in a situation, or puts Misguide in a situation where he's going to basically go and play the same combo, or this is what she is thinking, because with her monster's effect, she can be able to negate an effect. So it goes to the question, what does she want to negate? And she decides to wait on this, and he continues to go on to his turns, and to the point where he's able to get a bunch of monsters back in the field. He's able to get a couple of Gaia monsters. He gets Lord Gaia, and I think he gets another Magical Knight on his field, and he gets a Cursed Dragon, and goes for Spiral Fusion once again, but that's when she uses the effect to destroy his Spiral Fusion. So now he cannot Fusion Summon, which was what he was going for. However, it's not over yet, because probably one of the most well-known cards in the OCG and the TCG for fusion cards came into play in this duel, as he uses his two monsters. He uses Magical Knight and Lord Gaia to link summon into Link to Predaplant Verticonda, which, if anyone has played the meta, you know what this card does. You know this card. And for anyone that has never seen this card before, basically it copies any fusion card from your deck and basically becomes that card, which is insane. It is a very good card. It's very good for fusion decks. You can see this combo with like Super Polymerization. A recent card that came out, Greater Polymerization, you can technically use Vericonda to use that for whatever monster you want to really go into, but I don't know if Greater Polymerization is going to be used that much. I have really no idea. The card, well, no, the card is being released in Blazing Vortex, and it just came out recently, so maybe people will use it. I have no idea. We'll just have to wait and see. But you can just basically copy any fusion card with this, and that's what he does. He copies the third copy of his Spiral Fusion that was in his deck, and he's able to go into his fusion summon. He's able to get out a Gaia, the Magical Knight of Dragons, from his extra deck, and this completely stuns her. And she knows at this point that she has been defeated. She accepts the loss. She accepts Shoma for being strong, just like her sister, because obviously she admires Agia, the trap tricks Agia. So she accepts the defeat at this point. Shoma goes for the attack and is able to defeat Miss Guide, which, not surprised, really. I guess there was a little bit of a chance of her winning because of her being someone that was able to go against Agia and maybe done a pretty decent well, which I'm going to say I read a little bit ahead, and that doesn't look like that was the case. But anyway, but she ends up losing this duel, and she basically goes up to Shoma and says, "Let's duel again." Like, she will not accept the loss. And I respect her. Like, if you lose, you want to just keep on dueling because you want to win. I mean, let's be honest here. We humans, we want to win. We want to win. That is basically our entire thing, is we want to win. We will not stop until we get that victory. And that's basically what Miss Guide is. She won't accept this loss. She wants to duel Shoma again. And Shoma gets decided because obviously he loves to duel. But basically, you end the episode off with a joke as Gobu says, "No, you need to get back to work," and that was the end of the chapter. Thought it was absolutely funny. And then you also had a joke with Dark and his like love for his dark bride, you know, because obviously he has a massive crush on Miss Guide. So yeah, you had a little bit of humor at the end of the chapter. So overall, I thought it was a good duel. I really did enjoy it. It was cool to see Predaplant Verticonda in this. I was just more waiting for it. I was going to be very surprised if it didn't come out very soon, but it came out in this one. And also, it was really cool to see that shooting star monster. I think it was absolutely incredible to see that. I didn't know if they were going to actually do that, because I know it isn't really that powerful, or it's not used in the meta, or at least the games that I've played online, I've never seen a single person use that card, which sucks because I think it looks pretty cool. But obviously, when you're playing the meta, you're not more focusing on what the card's design looks like. You look at the effects and what combos you can pull off to demolish your opponents. And I don't think it fits that bill. Well, at least I haven't seen that in the competitive play. So overall, didn't like the chapter. It was just finishing off the duel, and then you had the little funny scene at the end, and I really did like that. But guys, that is going to be it for this chapter review. And with that, that is going to be it for this review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys' thoughts on this chapter was down below. And what were your thoughts on the duel? Did you like this duel? Were you in the middle of it? Or did you not really care for this duel as much? And just let me know what you guys thought of seeing Shooting Star TG expansion, and what did you think about seeing Predaplants Verticonda, because obviously if you watch the anime as well, Predaplants were used by Yuri, which was a pretty well-known character. I think it's a lot of people's like favorite U-boy from people that I've talked. It's either that or Yugioh and Yuto. I feel like those three are like in a tie, and Yugioh to a certain degree, but out of all the ones I talked, the most one is definitely Yuri. So to see his Link monster in this, well, I was not, it was cool to see it, but I wasn't surprised. It was just a matter of time when it was going to be shown or not. But let me know what you guys, all your thoughts on this down below. And yeah, that's going to be it for this chapter review. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, guys, take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day.